All right, hey guys, it's your spiritual big brother here. I got a good one for you guys today. I've been kind of hitting all these points with all of my shorts. They've been all about prayers. So I want to give a longer version of that and kind of try to tie it all together for you guys for kind of the way that I see prayers and kind of how you can have them answered and what blocks people and kind of all that stuff. So it's going to kind of just be a ramble, and I'm actually on a walk right now down by the lake. And it is a little chilly out today, but it's a good kind of chilly, if you know what I mean. Let me give you guys a quick peek around so you guys can kind of see what I'm walking through. And the lake is right down that way. You can barely see it right behind that pavilion. But it's beautiful, and I love it. So let's talk about prayers for a little bit. One of the ways that I like to kind of think about it is when I make a prayer, I'm really sending a message or a signal out into the universe, out to God, out to somebody, out to something. And a lot of the ways that I've seen them answered is in ways that I was never expecting. I think that that's the best way to frame it. Anytime that I've had a prayer answered for me, it usually met certain kind of conditions. And I don't want this to limit anybody. When I say conditions, I don't want you to start making some list and, making the perfect recipe for how you can have your prayers answered. I kind of just want to do it in a way that kind of gets you thinking a little bit about maybe how, because I think that that's important. But one of the ways that they've come to me is through talking with other people. And when I say that, it could just be a stranger, could be somebody I've never met before, or maybe I just approached a situation or a conversation slightly differently, a little bit more open. Maybe I was more honest with them. And I think honesty is a big thing that we have a hard time doing, or slowing down in the moment, being very present in a conversation. I think a lot of us, when it comes to strangers and passing, we just want to quickly get through it. We want to get to the next thing. Maybe we're on a commute and it's somebody at the window at Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. And we just want to get to the next place that we're going. And so we kind of put ourselves in autopilot. So that's one way that you can kind of miss a prayer being answered from somebody else. And I'm just giving you a really kind of a lame example, but just to give you an idea of what I mean. I'm talking about, like, if you're at your job or something and you have the opportunity to sit there and talk to somebody for a while. Maybe it's a customer or something that, maybe they want to talk, that kind of stuff. So I think that that's one way that I've seen my prayers being answered in ways that I never expected. And it's usually when I know how to ask for help, or how to, I guess ask to help's exactly what I'm trying to say. I feel like that's like a skill in itself, is to be able to ask people when you need help, when you're struggling, when you don't have the answers. And I feel like that's something that's not really talked about, because there's a way to ask people for help. There's a way to show that you're vulnerable. There's a way to show that you need something, even if you don't have the words for it. And that comes down to expression and a lot of other things too, and the way you communicate. So let me just pause that for a second so you guys can check out the lake here. It's beautiful, and I can see you guys seeing the sun probably hitting right off me. But it's a little bit frozen over, but still just as beautiful in its own way, in its own different form right now. So that's one way that I've learned for prayers to be answered, is through other people. And you also need to be open with that. That's ultimately what I'm saying here, is you want to keep your communication open. You got to be prepared. And sometimes a person might not have the answer for you, but they might be able to show you where to look. They might be able to give you a reference of theirs, of somebody that they know. So always keep that in mind. Just because the person doesn't seem like they're the one to have the answer for you, they might be able to show you where to look. And I've had that happen a few times too. I've also found my prayers answered through social media, through technology, generally speaking, television, radio, through media too, through maybe a newspaper, sometimes through a book, just a book that was recommended, or, if you believe in synchronicities, something that maybe keeps popping up for you every time you go out kind of studying and looking for all this kind of stuff, for answers, or for, anything spiritual or anything like that, or really anything that you're looking for, I guess. So you can kind of do it that way. Sacred texts are always a great place to look to. The Bible's a huge one. I have seen that one work magic in my own life. But that's not the only place I look. I know a lot of people are really hard subscribed to that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a sacred text. It's a great text. But there are plenty other ones. I've seen the Tao Te Ching. I've also studied a lot on Buddhism and the principles behind that. And they're just different alternative ways to kind of see the same message. So those are great places to look to. Man, I just love being out here. This is why I love doing this. I love sharing my knowledge, and I love just being able to do this and be out here. This is like the best. I just love this. So let me also say this. This was kind of part of one of my shorts too. I think I did a pretty good job on that. Maybe I missed a thing or two there. But you get the big picture. You get that it's kind of like this open transmission for prayers to be received. Another thing that I like to think about is there is an infinite amount of possibilities for the way that your prayers can be answered. I mean, infinite. It can come to you in any way. You just need to be willing to not expect it to come in a certain way to you, right? You probably know what I'm saying. When you send a prayer off, you probably start to already visualize a few different ways that maybe that prayer can be answered. I know I do it. Or I used to do it, I should say. Or I still do it sometimes, but I catch myself and then I open up a little bit more and I'd be like, well, it can really come to me in any way. And so you kind of got to catch yourself doing it and then become more open and receptive towards how that prayer can actually be received. But I know that in most cases, most of my prayers, especially the ones that I really desperately needed, were answered to me in ways that I wasn't expecting at all. And if I hadn't been opened or taken a risk or felt some pressure or maybe moved through some challenge or obstacle in a way that, was creating pressure or fear for me or something like that, something that made me, something that I maybe wasn't comfortable with either, even if that's having a conversation with somebody, you know what I mean? That can equally be the same thing I'm talking about. But I know that I used to kind of get this tunnel vision on the way that I wanted prayers to kind of come in. I'm like, man, it could be any one of these couple of ways that this prayer might be answered. So I should be on the lookout for those types of things. And when you do that and you stay in that tunnel vision and you're only looking for these in these places, that prayer might be just outside of your tunnel vision. It might be something that you weren't expecting outside, and then you miss it. Now, one of the things that I like to realize too is that just because you miss one prayer or one answer to your prayer doesn't mean God stops sending you these prayers. He is going to keep trying to reach you until you no longer need it anymore. And whether or not that means you've given up or moved on, or maybe whatever you needed answered got answered in some other way or something like that, he'll only stop it once you've received it or you no longer need it or require it, which is kind of a blessing on its own. You can always expect that prayer to keep coming back. It keeps circling until you get it, and sometimes it comes in alternative means. Sometimes there's only one way potentially that it can come, but again, don't start thinking like that. Like, don't try to play the game where you're like, hey, I need to know how it's coming. I need to be prepared for it in this way, but yet it's going to come to you maybe in this way over here. So you just got to be careful and you got to be really open when it comes to prayers. And I promise you, you will definitely have more prayers answered for you if you're open about it, if you just appreciate the infinite greatness of ways that prayers can be answered and come to you, I think you're going to start having a lot more of those prayers answered for yourself. And let's just take one more look around here, and then I'm going to close out this video. This is just gorgeous out here. And I'll get myself out of the picture so you guys can just see it. I love these benches over here. Let's check out the woods too. Here's the path I just came back from. Nice little bridge over there, the little tiny pier there. This is just awesome. I love this stuff. All right, guys. I hope that was helpful. Definitely leave some comments too. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for listening if you guys got this far. I will catch you guys on the next one.